NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3. This will be the third Brooklyn show from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Third consecutive year since SummerSlam decided to switch from Los Angeles and the Staples Center, which was an annual event. They had 6 years in a row to switch it to an annual event in Brooklyn, New York in the Barclays Center, even though, of course, Madison, the only reason it's in the Barclays is because Madison Square Garden is way too expensive to do shows now. So Barclays is that's still a great venue. It's still one of the biggest arenas in America. So it's a good, it's a good wrestling city. Crowd's very into it. Third consecutive year here. Brooklyn won in 2015. That show was fantastic. One of the best NXT's takeovers they've ever done. That show was great. Bayley and Sasha was absolutely fantastic. So that was just a great show, and arguably a lot of people's favorite takeover, and one of the most important takeovers of all time, and probably arguably the most important event in NXT history. Then you go a year later in 2016 to Brooklyn 2. A decent show. Wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still pretty good. Not as memorable, but they had a good show. Now the third straight year. And when I look at this card, I think to myself, it's not that strong. Now, I was dead wrong. I thought that same way about the Chicago show a few months ago, and that was probably the best takeover they've ever had. But here, I just don't see anything that's just going to blow everyone away and make us think about, just talk about it and just have this unbelievable match that's going to make the show special, kind of like Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne had on the last show. Here, I just don't see anything that's just going to be great. The women's match can be great, but not out of this world great. This should be, they could have a good show, but my expectations are not, are not as high as, some of the other takeovers they've done. But the card, again, should be good. Johnny Gargano and Andrade Cien Almas. He's with Zelina Vega. I think Gargano takes this. They could go with Almas. I know. He was supposed to come up on the main roster a while ago, but he never did. I don't know why. I don't like his character at all. I find him so boring. I find him as boring as Alberto Del Rio, who I did not like. I thought he was just boring as fuck. One of the most boring wrestlers in the history of the company. And Almas is just like that. He's so similar to Del Rio. He's just boring. I hope Gargano wins. It wouldn't shock me if Almas wins, but NXT they were so unlucky when Tommaso Ciampa got hurt. The Chicago, the way that show ended, the takeover in Chicago was absolutely incredible. It was just shocking. You had people in the audience crying. I was devastated. That sucked when I saw DIY break up, but in a good way. Ciampa kills Gargano, just demolishes him. Puts him through 2 tables. It just looked brutal after that incredible ladder match they had with the Authors of Pain. Then, that looked like that was going to be a featured match for Brooklyn. Now, I think, and unfortunately, Ciampa would tear his ACL. I would like that match to take place at WrestleMania weekend, and NXT, I think, TakeOver would probably be New Orleans, the New Orleans show. I hope that's where that match takes place, but I think they should build up Gargano and Ciampa for that match. It's disappointing that rivalry is not going to happen for a while, but I think they should build up Gargano process. I'm going with Gargano to beat Andrade Cien Almas. Next match. This could be the show stealer. Aleister Black and Hideo Itami could steal the show. From what I've heard, I think Aleister Black's going to get a special entrance. They like Aleister Black. A lot of people are comparing him to CM Punk. Don't necessarily see that, in my opinion, but he is talented. Hideo Itami, in my opinion, is kind of on the way out of NXT. I think it's gone to the point with Itami. It's going to go 2 ways. One, he's leaving NXT and going back to Japan, or 2, he's going to get called up to the main roster. And I'm not sure which one's going to happen. I think he deserves to have a shot at the main roster, even though maybe he doesn't deserve. He's been hurt for most of this 3-year run he's had in NXT. It's been a disaster. It's unfortunate. You see, Finn Balor has been a big success. He's gone up to the main roster and is a star. Kevin Owens, big success. He came in with both of them. Also had Neville, you had Sami Zayn, a part of that group. But I remember when they brought those three in at the same time, the other two have had a lot of success, and Itami, due to injuries, mostly injuries, has been a flop. And also Nakamura coming in definitely took away most of his steam, so that hurt too. But I think Aleister Black needs to win. I think Itami, he's damaged goods, and I hate to say that, he's extremely talented, but that's how I'm starting to feel. I think that's how WWE might feel. NXT Tag Team Championships are on the line. You have the Authors of Pain against Sanity. I think Sanity sucks. I hate the gimmick so much. It's garbage. It's like I said, it's like watching that American Horror Story Season 2. That's what it feels like. These guys are just fake. They're like just a bunch of goth kids in high school. I think they suck. I hate the gimmick so much. I think it's garbage. I think the Authors of Pain definitely win. Sanity isn't winning. Authors of Pain are not going to lose this. I got the Authors retaining. They had a great match. They've been in a lot of great matches, but that's who they've been in there with. This won't be great. I have low expectations here. I'm sure they're practicing really hard at the Performance Center. They're going to work really hard. It might not be bad, but the problem is the tag team division has been stealing the show on virtually every single Takeover show. First, it started off. The first match was the Revival against American Alpha. Great match. Revival and American Alpha again. Revival and DIY at last year's Brooklyn show stole the show. The match was awesome. Then they had the match in Toronto when DIY won. Awesome. Then you had DIY and the Authors. That was okay. And then you had that triple threat tag team match in Orlando, which was just great. Stole the show without question. And then you had that awesome ladder match in Chicago, which is another great match. It would have been the best match had it not been for the UK match. So it's just... that streak unfortunately is going to end, and I'm hoping we get something decent. But I think Authors retain. Alexander Wolf and Killian Dana are facing. Eric Young and Nikki Cross are the managers. Paul Ellering. I don't know if Paul Ellering is going to be there. But I don't know. I got the Authors winning. Then we go to the match. I think there's a chance this closes out the show. The NXT Women's Championship, the match I am definitely most excited for, Asuka and Ember Moon. I am really excited for this. I think they had a great match in Orlando. The only thing was the finish was just kind of lame because, had Asuka cheating to win and ended up she winning with a kick. But other than that, the match was great, and it definitely set up the rematch. Now they have to tear it up. I want them to be the main event. I think they can just tear up. Mainly because I don't care too much about Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre. This just feels like a setup to get to Roderick Strong, who, I think it would be cool to see Roderick Strong win the belt. They'll probably have this great celebration. But, I am far more interested in the women here. And I think, I know they've got this Mae Young Classic coming up. I'm not too interested in that. I don't need to see a bunch of women crying all the time and... I just don't care. I heard some of the results and not interested. But to get more interest in women's wrestling, they need to let them go out and tear it up. I think they should do the same with the woman on SummerSlam. Let Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks tear it up. They have some good chemistry. And I think these two, Asuka and Ember Moon, also have good chemistry. I hope they are the main event. They can have a great match. If it's the main event, I think we should see a title change. I'm going to go... this is hard, man. This is so hard. This is the hardest match to predict on the whole weekend. It can go either way. I don't know if they want to beat Asuka. I think they should just let Asuka go to the main roster as this undefeated women's wrestler, and have her have the Goldberg streak, like 200 and something, But Ember Moon, they've been building up to so long. Very difficult. I'm going to say Ember Moon's the new champ. I think at main events, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ember Moon. I think she's gonna win the belt. I think. You know what? That's tough. I'm gonna go with Ember Moon. I might be wrong about that, but I probably will be wrong. I'm gonna go Ember Moon. Main event, NXT Championship, Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre. I've not been enjoying it. It's like the TNA match. It's like TNA. It's like TNA is completely taken over NXT. I haven't been enjoying this too much. I don't have too high expectations here. They'll work hard. They'll probably have a good match. I mean, there's no reason they'll have a bad match. And then you should be informed when the crowd's going to be really hot. But, I mean, I'm not super excited like I was, to see other... Bobby Roode doesn't have great matches. And I hope the women's match is the main event. I'm more interested in that. I think the crowd's going to be more hot for a women's match, in my opinion. So I hope the women's main event. Here, this match, Roode and McIntyre, very hard to predict. Can go either way. They love Drew McIntyre. It's crazy. He is their guy in NXT. It's obvious he's big. I mean, they've always had high hopes for him in the main roster, but Triple H, I think, definitely sees a lot in him. I'm going to say Roderick Strong comes out and does something drastically that will cost Drew McIntyre the match. I don't know how. Maybe Roode tries to cheat, and I think probably Strong will be in the crowd or something, and Bobby Roode tries to cheat, and then Strong, or maybe Roode hits him, he attacks him while Strong's in the crowd, and he comes in, and he accidentally costs McIntyre the match. It'll be a fuck finish, but I'm going to say Bobby Roode retains the NXT Championship. So, again, this show... looking forward to NXT. Always want to see NXT do well. Not too hyped for this card, but again, hopefully they surprise us, and they wouldn't shock me if they end up going in there and having another great takeover like they always do. NXT takeovers are usually always great.